Hey guys, welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. So, yes, I got some audio. So, I just literally, wow, that's funny how life is. So, I just did a tarot card reading for SF, and now I'm doing it again because upon doing it, I realized toward the tail end of it that the audio wasn't working on the video. So, it's kind of hard to understand what I'm saying when you can't really hear what I'm saying. So hopefully this has fixed that situation. And but we had a pretty good tarot card reading, and so we're gonna just basically rehash kind of the finer points of what I said before. Now, I'm gonna spare you some of the details of me shuffling and so on because I've actually got the exact cards in the exact order that they came out in the other reading. And so that's what I'm gonna put out here uh, for you guys here. Okay, so here's the situation. So S, I'm just gonna use the first initial S for this. S has basically been in a situation where her partner has recently said, "Look, I want a divorce. I don't want to be together anymore." Now, this has been a very long relationship, roughly 8 years that they've been, you know, pretty committed. Uh, been married for quite a while as well. So situation is pretty bleak in some ways because nobody wants to get that that phone call or that communication that says, "Yeah, I don't want to be together anymore." So what's going on with that? It's hard to keep hope alive, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the situation. So the reading that we're doing today it's a 7 card reading, but it's instead of doing it the traditional way that I typically tend to do readings, it's a 7-month reading. Moving into this 2024, so we're going to start with January, and we're going to then go from there because part of this question, this follow-up question that has had for me was, what do I really mean by 3 months from the other reading? We're going to try to explain that a little bit in this reading, as well as kind of take us beyond the 3 months, because sometimes we need to go a little bit beyond in order to really understand what's kind of right there in front of us for the next couple months. Now, the thing I want to impress upon you guys is like with this reading, keep in mind, this is going to be kind of meta, so it's going to be a little bit broad. During this period of time, the 7 months, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen in all of our lives. It's not just in S's life, but in all of our lives. A lot of things are going to happen in 7 months. There's a lot of days from now until the end of the 7 months. So bear that in mind. But what we're going to be able to do by looking at this reading over the next 7 months, it's going to give us some perspective in terms of like month to month to month, kind of what the measurement of things is going to look like for S. So January, with this card here, it's kind of a wait and see kind of card. You know, uh, this card here is very grounded. You're getting like a triple dose of Capricorn energy in January with this card. Yes, you are. This card here is first we have the Nine of Pentacles here. This person is basically a symbol of being able to take time off from work, time off from other responsibilities, and to kind of be able to coast for a little while without anything really being disrupted. So if you have a business, for example, and you take a few days off, the business is still going to make money, even though you're not having to physically be there doing the actual work and having to manage things and all that type of thing. A little off topic, but I'm just telling you that because that's when this card comes up, oftentimes it's like in a financial reading or something like that. And that's kind of like, you know, the energy of that card. In this particular context, though, this is like with your relationship, it's telling you that sometimes you have to give a sick person a little bit of time to get better. And that's what this is basically telling you. So your partner right now, she's been going through a lot, you know. You guys had moved in with her grandmother and stuff, and you guys eventually you've moved out since then. And since November, December, you've had all these things happening, and it's been a lot of chaos, a lot of chaotic energy. That's what 2023 really had in store, not just for you guys, but also for like the rest of us here. So much has happened in 2023. The people I've done tarot card readings in 2023, but I tried to like kind of limit them because the energy that was happening was you're seeing the same pattern over and over. It's no different than really what's been going on here as well. So that's what I'm trying to, express to you is like when you have like this chaotic energy, right now, first steps first, and within the next 30 days and all, a couple of things. First, a little R&R for you. This is rest and renewal. R&R for your partner, especially. This person is ill and they need to get better. And I say ill, I don't mean that they're necessarily physically ill, like in terms of an illness or something, but we've all been in a situation where we've been, sick and bedridden and just feel like, ugh, and we all have responsibilities. We have to go to work, we have to cook food, we have all these things that we have to do. We have to clean house, all these things. But when you're down, usually that's your body's way of saying, you don't need to do anything. You need to stay in bed, just try to like relax your mind, relax your body, and don't do anything, except get better. Let your body heal itself. That's the favor that you need to do for your partner right now is you need to give her a little bit of time. That's the January energy. Now, on the same in the same vein, it's also for you as well. Like you've been going through a lot with this relationship. It's caused you a lot of emotional concern and grief and different things on that end. It's like the black night of the soul. It's like just going through a lot of things and like all the things that you thought were so fixed and permanent and never going to go anywhere, things that we could almost sit back and take for granted. Now it's like, oh, what happened? There's so much, like everything was going so good, and now all of a sudden you got this turbulence, and it's now there's a time of meditation here. We have to take a little bit of time in January to do that. January is also about doing, like this energy is also kind of a doing kind of energy for you on that end. So there's other things in your life that you'll be focused on and other things that you'll be doing as well. But it doesn't mean that you're going to like forget about your partner or anything. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that your partner is going to forget about you. It's once you guys are healed, once mentally healed, it's a lot easier to have that conversation and to get back on track. So that's January. It's kind of like a gift that you give yourself. It's a gift that benefits your partner especially well. Um, but yeah, that's what it is. So now the next month as we move into February. Well, February, when you look at this card, it usually is, oh no, not this card. So it's another nine. It's the Nine of Swords. So we have the Nine of Pentacles. Nines are usually about endings and completions, by the way. So, but what the advice that I'm giving you within the context of this month to month stuff here, it's a little bit different. You didn't get the endings and completions necessarily with this. Nine's also like in the tarot numerology is a little bit different. It's kind of what comes behind before the metamorphosis or the change or the annihilation of something or the going away of something. It's kind of the before. So we saw that with this. This is like, okay, we're in a good situation. The business can kind of support itself, or the situation can kind of like float for a little bit. And that's what we're letting happen. This card here, we have the swords. That's usually, it's the mind chatter and it's conflict. Oftentimes it's very conflictual kind of information. And in this case, like with the Nine of Swords, it's conflicting information that we're getting, but it's happening in the form of like misinterpretation of information. So in this way, like in February, what you're going to find out is that it all this here dark energy, all this stuff that you're perceiving as being true and legit, you're going to start to realize you're going to wake up from that nightmare and realize, hey, this dream, this nightmare, this negative thinking, all this stuff, it was pointless. You know, uh, it has a value, but at the end of the day, it's pointless for the situation. It's not going to really matter a whole lot with the relationship, all the things that you're perceiving going on with it right now. if you listen to someone sick or somebody that's not altogether there, they have a tendency to say things and to blurt things that are just not what they would do when they were well, this is when they're at their worst, and you're seeing these kind of things happening and unfolding, and it's really, it can be really devastating. But the good news is that you can wake up from that, and that's what's gonna happen in February. And you start to realize that this negativity, all the things that were going on with this relationship and this person and in general, and all the other little things that were kind of there as well. A lot of it is just, not that important or kind of more irrelevant. Now, I did say that this card has some value. It's valuable in the sense that it wakes you up a little bit. It says, "Hey," but it's also got another hidden value, and that value is something I want to talk about a little bit. So the hidden value behind this card in particular with your situation is that this is one of those cards that also wakes you up that says, "Oh, it was only a nightmare." All of the things that you are afraid to lose, all of those kind of things that are so devastating, it's made you aware of those things. It's brought them to life for you. So even though it was a nightmare, in your mind, it was real. But the good news is that in reality, it wasn't real. But because it was real in your mind, you have this opportunity now. It's kind of like you were given a gift to say, "Hey, this person does really mean a lot to me, and more than I even imagined." Like, you really don't know the true value of something or someone in your life until that person is no longer there. Case in point, you maybe, if you're really close with someone, a family member or something, and that person passes away, and it's sudden, and it's a devastation, and it's permanent. In those moments, you realize, geez, I wish I would have played that hand a little differently. I wish I would have said things differently. I wish I would have didn't see that happen, and it's shocking. But when you see that, it then wakes you up and says, "Okay, I don't wanna repeat this again. I don't wanna, you know, I don't want my decisions to not be what I want my decisions to really be. I don't wanna just keep living idly. I don't wanna just be passive in this thing. I wanna be really, like, present in this relationship." And that's what this card is gonna do for you. It's really waking you up. In fact, it's waking you up right now. I mean, you're starting to see this, but when you realize that to the extent that you think it is, it isn't, that's when it is. But you can use that and you can harness this nightmare moving forward. So it says, okay, you can really put your heart into the relationship even deeper. So sometimes a nightmare or the fear of losing something or the thought of losing something or the experience of losing something, when you get it back, it's like, okay, I'm definitely never letting this leave my sight again. I'm really gonna like make a huge concerted effort to be 100% present in this thing and make completely different decisions than I would have prior to this experience. So you got that. So next, so the next thing that we have is we have another sword card here. And we said sword can be conflicting information and so on and so forth. And it can be very difficult or challenging. A lot of times we have our challenges and things like that come out a little bit with these swords. Mm, in this particular card, it's a good card for your situation because you're going away from these rougher waters. You can see the rougher waters here, and you're moving into the calm. So things are going to start to calm down a little bit. You wake up from a nightmare, you go a little bit beyond your day. What happens? You start to forget the nightmare. And even if you can recall a little bit of the nightmare, it definitely doesn't have the same intensity that it had while you were experiencing the nightmare, right? uh, a dream. You may have a dream and it's a great dream, and you wake up and you're like, "Oh, wow, that was a great dream." But in a few minutes or a few moments later, or you get sidetracked with something, that dream is long forgotten, and you may not recall that dream ever. I mean, you may never remember that dream again because it's so fleeting. And that's a thought can be that way. Then swords are thoughts. And the same thing is like with this is, when this is really deep and heavy energy and you realize, okay, this is I got to make some changes here. I got to really start to put my heart more into this. I got to take it to another level. Um, I got to start putting things in place now to ensure that this situation never happens again. Uh, I've been able to weather the storm, but now I need to really be proactive with it. And this card here is about taking some proactive measures, moving in a different direction with it, and having some more calmness and clarity with the situation. So that's your 3 months. We've talked about the 3 months and kind of where that was at. Even though this is a 7 month reading we're doing, just for some more deeper clarity, that's your 3 months kind of moving forward here. January, we kind of take a break from things. February, we start to realize things aren't as bad as we thought they were. And by the time we get to March, it's kind of like, okay, we can slowly, not, not real fast. I mean, this is going kind of slow. You still have some rough patches, but by and large, you're headed in a positive direction. That's what March is really bringing out. It's kind of this positive direction. So, when you see that kind of presented, it's like, okay, give a sick person time to heal. If you're sick and you're in bed and you're bedridden and you got to get up, you got to go to the refrigerator, you got to get something to drink, you got to, make a sandwich or, grab something to eat or cook some dinner. Those are things you don't, even those little things can be such an irritation. You got the stress of knowing that you eventually have to go back to the job. If you got to pay bills, things are mounting. You have this material experience, and so it's like, okay, and that adds more stress to the equation. So, big thing in January is just kind of taking a little. The biggest thing you can do, like in terms of action, is sometimes inaction. So the inaction here is just really giving pause to things, letting this person heal up a little bit. It doesn't mean that, but you treat them like you would a sick person. How do you treat someone that's sick and in the hospital, like laid up in bed? Maybe they have pneumonia or some sickness. Are you going to go in there and start telling them all your problems, all the things that you're going through, and how bad your life is? No, you're there for them, 100%. So you're going to talk to them in a gentle tone, right? You're going to say, hey, how are you feeling? Oh, you're going to tell them life, like vibrant kind of stories. You're going to tell them things that are going to brighten their day, make them smile. That's what you're doing in January. It's very like light, plenty of time to rest. They'll be very happy to see you as they're recovering, but that recovery time is real important. February, person's starting to heal, things are going better for them, things are then going better for you. And then you see that nightmare, things you're just like, what was I so worried about? Like, why was I so like concerned with this situation? Like it's not as bad as I thought it was. March, it's like, okay, you know what? Had some rough waters there, like had some rough patches, and we're not out of the woods yet, but at least we're kind of, taking a little, we're recovering together at this point. There's still time to heal, but we're doing it together more, getting back in terms of in stride with things. And it's also about family too. That card is also a little bit has some things to do with family. So making things, good for your both of you, for your family together. So okay, so that's January, February, and March. So next is April, and April is temperance. So this card here, temperance, this is about balance and it's about finding the sweet spot. That's what I always think of when I see this card. This angel, she's got two cups. Cups are representative of relationships. You have water and stuff, that's about emotions, and it's about culminating, it's finding the right level of emotion when it comes to things. Like we talk about like emotional intelligence and perceiving things in the right way without really exaggerating things. That's what this is about. It's about finding like with this card in your relationship in particular, this is about finding the right words to say and not saying the wrong words. It's about like trying to find them, because sometimes we can say things and as you guys know, from as you've indicated before with the relationship, sometimes you've said some things and she's said some things and it's been hurtful on both sides and it's like a little too much, and that's like adding gasoline to the fire a little bit. We've already got something happening over here. Just want to kind of like, when you have a grease fire like on the stove, you've got, and it's going. The last thing you want to do is just freak out and run out of the room. You want to kind of make sure this thing is out. But you can't throw water. You got to be really careful about how you put this thing out. You got to kind of let the oil burn off. You know, be safe about it. Be calm. We got to handle this thing with some kid gloves a little bit. Like very carefully. And that's what this is about. This temperance is about finding that careful balance there where you can communicate with each other in a way that's not offensive, that's not going to hurt anybody's feelings, it's not going to push someone away or try to influence them to come. It's just really like, it's just a really positive kind of energy. But we all know like where kind of the sweet spot is with things. We know what we can get away with saying, and we know when we've obviously said too much. And once you say it, you can never take it back. That's the rule of communications. But was it back in college many years ago? Psych or not, Com 181 or something like that. It was interpersonal communications, and it was all about uh, once you say it, it's out there. It's in the ethos, and you can never recount it. So, like people in politics have to be very careful. What they say. If they say the wrong thing and it gets taken out of context, it's like it can be career destroying. This can be relationship destroying. So we have to be very careful with it. We have to take it very seriously. And so temperance is about just, be careful here, be patient with it, like gentle, and be aware of things and give attention. So the next card that we have is, so the next card that we have is this Four of Cups. So we're back on the cups a little bit. So we had temperance was cups, two people. This is two cups in this one. So it's you and her. This one here, we got other people in the mix. So we have the you guys up until the month 4. And in month 5, so January, February, March, April, May. So in May, it's about, we have other things going on. These are fixed relationships here, and this is other things being presented. These are other opportunities and so on. But when this comes, you notice this person is sort of like indifferent to like the new things happening. They're just kind of like, used to be like, they would say like if you go to temple or something, or you go to like the church or something, don't cross your arms, if you're, because it shows like you're upset about it. Like these people won't get it, you know. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to be serious. It's hard sometimes. It really is. But in this particular instance and all, like things are being offered. There's other things, other opportunities and all, but you gotta decide what's important to you, like with this. And in this case, usually the best action is to be just kind of 4 is about stability and just saying, hey, I'm gonna keep this relationship on a stable footing for now. We're not gonna try to get like too out there with things. Like we're still very patiently doing this. So we got January, February, March, April, May. So by the time we get to May, the relationship, like we're 4 months. I mean, we're only 4 on the scale of 1 to 10 as far as this relationship goes. We're at 0 right now. We want to get to 10, right? We want to have this good, awesome relationship, totally mutual respect for one another. We're back on track, in love. Life is great, smiles, happiness. Life is great, no fear, anxiety, or anything like that. Back on track with each other. That's 10. But, January, February, March, April, May, we get like to May of 2024, and we're only at 4 on that scale. Okay. But 4 is a good place. 4 is about stability. We're starting to reach a level of stability with the relationship. And as you start to reach that level of stability, then it's like, okay, we don't have to tiptoe around as much. We don't have to be so fearful about what we say as much and this and that. Things are starting to come together, and that glue is starting to stick a little bit. Before that, it's like not so sticky. Like you put something on the thing, it sticks. Without much glue, it just falls right off, right? Hope you guys get the analogy, but it's kind of where it is. But 4 is we're getting some stabilizing energy. There's other things coming into the mix. Um, could be career and other kind of things outside of just the relationship itself. It could be other people that are going to be influential in other ways in your life. And you're going to start to see like, and that other person's going to really start to see that things are going to stabilize. And as that happens, that's when the relationship is really going to start to come back on track more. So you got to wait about 5 months or so, 5 or 6 months. So by the time we get to the queen, the next card is the Queen of Wands. So we get to June, and the queen is here, and she is all about influencing things, wielding some kind of influence or some kind of power, some kind of you know, feeling back in the driver's seat is kind of where the relationship is at this point. And this Queen of Wands is you. This is not your partner. This is really you. This is about being able now to say, okay, I've nursed this thing along. I've built this thing for a good period of time. Now I'm in a good place to start to customize it a little bit, start to influence it a little bit, start to kind of move it more in a better direction. You've had a lot of time to think about things, like kind of the best direction for this relationship and everything. And now it's time to kind of start moving in that direction. And it's a good direction. You got a lot of positive support going on with it. We see that as that 4 energy now with this, but it's also kind of a faster kind of wielding of influence. Could be a change in direction in terms of a move or new career or a new place to live or something along those lines. So you're going to start to see that start to materialize on some level. And so other things will start to play an influence on you, and you'll start to take those influences and start to present them as ideas that will also influence your partner. And together, you guys will, and see keyword together there, together, you guys will start to make really good changes that will work out for the both of you. And indirectly, it's also going to benefit her. I could see her like if this is job related for you, and maybe like you get a job placement someplace else that's not necessarily where you're at, and she comes along, it could be that a door opens up for her as well, something that never would have happened. And you could find yourself in a very short period of time living someplace else and having a different life altogether. And a lot of the things from the past that were kind of, defining in terms of like your life and everything, that could be put on hold for a while. And enough time goes by, and you're less and less attached to that and more attached to the new things coming about. Let's go into July. July, we have the Knight of Swords. Knights, it's all about taking action and moving in that direction. The swords, of course, that's thought, and this is thought in motion. So now taking our thoughts, taking all the things that we've been thinking about and all the things that we've learned, and now we're really starting to just do. This is the action card most. By the time we get to July, it's really about doing. It's interesting because July is, you have June, the Queen of Wands, you have July, the Knight of Swords. And when you get to this time of the year, a lot of times you get that energy of the summertime, fun, changes, vacations, getting out of the cold, um, it's rejuvenating in a lot of ways, you see, it's seeing things differently, and it's almost like winter months, maybe that depression, that cloud of uh, you think of snow, you think of like rough times out in the cold, that kind of thing. Cold could be symbolic of like kind of a depressed state or problems. Whereas the sun is very much like in the tarot card, it's more about energy and bringing life to things and happiness and good times coming. So you see that with it, but with this, it's also about taking action. So like change of pace, a change of location, perhaps, moving things forward, and to collectively, and seeing a lot of positive things happening. So when we look at this tarot card reading, in terms of what it is, like in terms of the meta, like I was saying, like seeing things that beyond the situation, it would be like if you're a spectator looking at your own situation, but that's kind of the meta idea of it. It's like put yourself in my situation. I'm doing that reading for you and I'm seeing it. And this is what I'm seeing. This would be like if you went and you told someone near and dear to you your situation and all, and they weren't connected to it. And they said, oh, well, yeah, I can see how this could kind of be the situation. And that's what you have to kind of look at it. You get your emotions out of the way and you can kind of see it and you think, okay, well, this makes sense. January, I'm going to give a little bit of space. Theme for January is going to be R&R, but it's also about just, letting some things materialize. We have the Pentacles. It's all about material nature, about being grounded. We're working on a grounding. It's also where we start to put the plan of action into play. But it's like just really, uh, watch and see kind of thing. Wait and see. February, we have the swords, we have the nightmare card, but it's just a nightmare. It's not reality, but it's real enough in our mind that freaks us out, scares the bejesus out of us, as they say. So in that kind of a situation, you're like, oh, okay, you know what? At least it was only a nightmare, but what if it did happen? Well, that what if is it scares you into action and making different choices. And then you see that we're getting away from this turmoil, this craziness, all this up and down stuff. Let's get away from that and go into a more positive, easier to handle situation, direction. And then temperance is about like finding the right balance, finding the right mix, seeing what is really going to work, like where is like what works for her, what works for you, and finding that sweet spot of how do we make it work together, and that's what it is. You can't just, you know temperance is really like sometimes things are good for you and you need your needs met, sometimes she needs her needs met, and collectively at certain times you both have to have certain things from one another, correct? So if you're doing that and you're looking at it from that vantage point, sometimes you're going to have a situation where you got to really give a lot more than you anticipated giving, and then sometimes you take less, and by you taking less, it gives that other person more, and vice versa. Sometimes your needs are going to be more where you may need some support and help, and then that other person, they may have to help you out a little bit, and that's the power of partnerships. But with just one person and all, when you're down, you're really down, but when you're up, you're really up because you don't have anyone else to really have to take care of. But when you're down, you don't have anyone helping you either, so that's the trade-off, so sometimes you have to kind of balance each other out and kind of work together, to assist each other. So you do that with temperance, and then you have stability. um, in May, you have that stabilizing energy of the Four of Cups. Other things coming into play. Queen of Wands in June. That's where you start to wield some influence. Things are going to start to open up for you. And then in July, that's where we start to see things really start to take shape. And the night charges forward. And you don't have to think about it too much, even though this one does a little bit on some level. So it's thoughts and action, moving things in a nice positive direction. So okay, so now we have the tarot card reading out of the way, and we can kind of see like what we're working with, in terms of the situation. Let's talk about like just the plan of action. Like, okay, this is, so you say, okay, Chandra, nice, thank you, but what now? What, like what to do? So it goes back to the same basic philosophy that I talk about so much on this channel, and that's this uh, path of devotion. So yoking things together, like yoga, is to yoke together, is to combine, to yoke, to harness the power of something. So with this idea, it's about like, okay, what can I do? What's the best thing that I can do for this person to show that I love this person, that I care for this person, and be very, very active about it. So bhakti, this loving devotion, oftentimes in like our culture, it's about the divine, God. But within, you could take the same principle and apply it to just any other relationship, and see God or the divine within the other person, and understand that the same divinity within them is the same divinity that's within you. And so, but the idea is like, how can I serve this person better than anyone else serves this person? This person better than this person knows themselves at this point, and vice versa. You know, if there's needs that you have that aren't being met, or needs that she has that's not being met, what are those needs? Kind of discovering that to some degree, And then, as you start to kind of do that, then you start to realize, okay, I need to start really giving a little bit more space here in January. But at the same time, you don't want to like totally disconnect. You want to let the person know, hey, I really care for you. Like I said, you go to the hospital, the person's getting well. Obviously, you can't spend every waking moment there. The person has to sleep, they have to be tended to. There's other people that have to tend to their needs as well, nurses and so on, doctors, professionals, people outside of your capabilities, family member probably in this person's case. And then but your role doesn't mean that you're free to not ever visit the hospital or anything, and to not do that. No, you're there to also be that person. Like when that person's feeling like talking or something, then you're that person they can talk to, and you listen to them. But when you are doing the talking or you are visiting that person in the hospital, metaphorically speaking, what you're doing is you're talking to them in gentle ways. Like when you're in the hospital, how do you talk to the person that's sick in bed? You talk to them like in a positive way. Oh, how's everything going? Like, wow, how you feeling today? Is everything going pretty good for you today? Oh yeah, that's great. Oh, wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Well, right now, you just gotta take care of you right now. You just gotta get yourself well. Things are gonna be good. A lot of positive energy. We're moving into this new year. Right now, your rest, your relaxation, all these things are real important. So don't try to like overdo things, don't try to overthink things. Don't try to like let your mind start to go into weird places or anything like that. Just right now is about you and focusing in on what your needs are and where you need to be at. And I'm just here to support that, and you let them know, like I'm just here to support that. And, so let's just keep it positive, and then if you tell them something, it's just kind of surface, right? But it's usually something like good energy, something funny. Oh, walked on the beach the other day and a little dog came up and, yada, yada. Just surface stuff. It's not deep. We're not talking about like where the relationship's going to be at in the next 10, none of that kind of stuff. January is about like letting this person recover, and just get back to where they need to be at. Let their body heal, their mind heal. Stress and anxiety go way, way, way a ways. And it's all about that. And so that's our starting point. Good news is that when you're doing that and you're not at the hospital, you got other things that you need to be focused on as well. Your whatever work or school or other activities that you're engaged in, that's where your focus and stuff can be at. You got family, you got other things that you need to prioritize as well. And that's okay, and you can have this connection with this person as they're healing, and if they need something, just say, hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you. Like if you need me to bring up something, if someone's sick in the hospital, they may not like the food necessarily. So they might try to have you sneak them up some of the stuff that tastes good that maybe the doctors don't really want them having. You're that person. So that's the love that you give that person. That's so bhakti is about it's devotion in motion. That's actually going to be the tag for kind of a new channel I'm working on starting, you guys. It's going to be a bhakti yoga channel. We'll actually be doing yoga, but other things related to bhakti as well, like meditation and all these kind of things. And it's going to be a practice. So it's not going to be like, oh, we're working on perfection here or anything. It's about where we're at in our life, um, health wise, mentally, physically, spiritually, all these kind of things. It doesn't matter where we're coming in at. And it's just about like taking that and just practicing the principles of bhakti, this principle of devotion in motion, where we put a heart into things, and we start to make everything about the heart, you know, doing what we can to really improve upon our own consciousness and the way that we respond and connect with others, and how we feel about others, getting rid of negative thoughts or thoughts that are no longer serving us, these kind of things. We'll talk more about that in a future video, and I'll give you guys access to the new site as it comes up, new channel and so on. And still got to work on some things with that, and get it going. But in the meantime, with particular emphasis on this tarot card reading, that energy that you're giving this person, the love that you're showing this person, it's done through your actions, um, not over talking it, not being so hot and heavy or deep, not making demands on the other person, or really accepting demands from the other person. If the person says blah 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 blah, don't react to it in a negative way. Remember, you're dealing with someone that's not well, dis-ease, sick, ill, that kind of thing. And when someone is in that state of mind and you're not in that state of mind, it's easy to kind of get on their level because you start to see them as being well. No, 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 no. You don't want to do that. Understand this person is not well. When someone's not well, they say things they don't mean. They throw ideas and situations and they try to freak you out and all these kind of things, and it will panic you. And you'll have like hypertension and stress and all these kind of things that you don't need. And people become reactive. We don't need any of that. Just remember, if you think of this person as kind of like someone that's recovering, from an illness, and you need to give them space, let them heal, take care of their needs, kind of baby them a little bit. That's kind of the energy that you kind of want to focus in on. That's where the bhakti is. That's where the loving devotion is. You need to bring them a sandwich, or you need to make them lunch or something and just bring it, no strings attached, not a conversation needed. You're just doing little things along the way to help this person, You know what their favorite dishes are. If they like chocolate chip cookies or something like that, maybe make them chocolate chip cookies. I always use the analogy of the apple pie. You guys probably get sick of that, so I'll transition to the cookies for now, but holidays, everyone's eating like sweets. But whatever is needed, that's what you're helping that person to receive, and you're trying to be that person, the person that is their well-wisher, that is helping them, guiding them, steering them. But you're doing it in a really sweet way, like sweetness, love, devotion, kindness, endearment, all these kind of words. These are the kind of things that really need to be at the forefront of your mind right now. And as you put that love out there, that action, that devotion in motion out there, you'll start to see that this relationship really is going to start to spin back into the direction that you're wanting it to. But like February is about realizing I can't take things for granted anymore. Like I thought that things were so fixed and that things were going to always be this way and that we are going to always be together. February is kind of the wake up call, like, okay, you know what? I'm glad it was just a nightmare, but at the same time, I'm going to put some measures in place right now to ensure that this doesn't happen again. I really want to keep my relationship on track with this. And so I have to make time for the relationship. I have to put things in place that no matter what happens, when a situation presents itself, whether it throws a wrench in things, and things aren't going as when things are not business as normal, it doesn't matter. We have to have contingency plans. And that's what this January and February give you kind of an opportunity to do as you start to move back in, get the relationship onward and upward. So anyways, hope this tarot card reading helps you. Listen, you're going to have situations along the way, like in the month of January and February and March, where you're going to have moments of despair and angst and stress and so on. Like it's just natural. So don't fight that. If it happens and you just want someone to talk to, you can always reach out to me. I'm always here for you. And it may take me a couple days or whatever to get back, but I'm working on that. So hold me more accountable. So, but listen, I'm always here for you guys. So if you need anything, please reach out, and we can weather this situation together and just kind of help you through it. And then I think once it gets back on track, it'll be a lot easier for you to kind of navigate your own direction. You're going to see so many positive things start to happen. 2024, mark my words, it's going to be a really good year. It's going to be a different year, but all that volatility was the word I was looking for earlier. Forget what I said, but the volatility that you guys have been experiencing now. See, for so long, your relationship was kind of like this, right? Like just kind of a nice, kind of slow growth. But then you start to get that volatility, and it's like, oh, these peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. 1 minute you're good, 1 minute you're not, 1 minute that stuff, that's enough to drive anybody nuts, or anybody insane. So now it's about taking control of those situations and saying, look, I'm not believing this anymore. I'm not buying into this hype, this hyperbole. Now I'm just going to start to focus in on what on instead of being reacting to the situations, it's about planning out the situation to say, hey, regardless of what's happening, this is the course, this is what I'm going to focus on now to get things back on track. I know there's going to be ups and downs, but I know she's going to say things that I don't want to hear. I'm going to have the worst thoughts ever that are going to hit me and plague me and just very much upset me. At this point, it's just time to say, no, we have a plan, stick into the plan. The person's ill, let them get healed, start to working things slowly. You got 7 months to work on this thing. It's not going to happen overnight, but a little bit at a time. Sales adage used to be like in sales school and stuff, they would say, how do you eat an elephant? You do it one bite at a time, and eventually the elephant's eaten. Now, I'm a vegetarian, you guys, so like that's never really resonated too much with me. And I love elephants, I think they're beautiful. But if that helps you kind of understand what the process is going to be like here, we're doing this one bite at a time, one step at a time, and in time, things will get back to where they need to be at. Even better. So, that's what all this Capricorn energy as we got in January is really kind of leading us into. And so we're going to see a lot of that start to happen and in our own lives, also in the situation here. So much love, many blessings. I hope to see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge, and we'll leave it there. Much love.